Hello, my Built for Thousand Nation. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, hope it gets better from here. Oh, before we get into anything else, I just want to apologize for the videos not coming up the way they should have been. I got sick. Went to the ER, had flu B. All I know is whatever flu B is, it stands for death. Death. I'm feeling much better today. Like Friday, I slept. Went to the ER Thursday, well, late Thursday night. Slept pretty well all day Friday. Most of the day Saturday. Today I'm feeling pretty good. They gave me some IV fluids, gave me medicines and all kinds of shit. Doing better. I'm feeling more energized. But I do want to apologize. I was just so sick. I even had to order a new fan for the backside of the computer. And I couldn't even put it in. I couldn't concentrate on, and it's just literally taking out 4 screws, putting in 4 screws, and putting a wire into a little plug, and then another wire into another plug. I didn't even feel like doing that shit. That was awful. But like I said, I am feeling much, much better. Everything should be straightened out. Hopefully no more sleeping all freaking day long. I hate that shit bigger than anything. But we are back with another That Chapter. This one is titled The Case of Craig Rideout. It was actually suggested to me by a subscriber. I ain't forgot. I'm getting to him. I promise. Alright, I'm excited to get into today's video. Hopefully you guys are excited as I am. If you are, please go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup up with something special. Let's get worried. There's not much else to the title. It just says The Case of Craig Rideout. And that worries me. I don't know what we're in for.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, woof, we got the story of Craig Rideout. It's a messed up one. What happened to him? You think he went to Disneyland? What occurred in Rochester, upstate New York in 2016 was pretty grim, especially when bleach is involved. But the suspects in what happened to Craig Rideout are pretty surprising. Alright, that's enough trying to be vague. Let's get into it.
Let's give it a go. I like the go better. Let's give it a go.
Craig Rideout was born in 1968, raised in upstate New York near Rochester, with one sister, Robin. After studying economics at college, he met Laura Assam in a Rochester pub. Craig and Laura married in 1993 when he was 27 and she 22. That year, they had their first son, Colin. Craig worked as a clackety-clackety programmer for a financial services firm. They would eventually have a total of 7 children.
Jesus.
And with the pitter-patter of tiny feet and
separate
more
beds.
mouths to feed... Jesus, that's... well, kind of pretty light there now, you know? They were eventually forced to move into a smaller home, and the finances dwindled even further, and trouble started brewing, my friends. Craig's idea to fix this was to get into some sweet gaming.
In the outside world, I am a simple
Programmer.
but in here, I am Falcorn, defender of the Alliance.
Colin, the oldest of Craig and Laura, would later write that his father was abusive, emotionally abusive, while, Craig's sister Robin, who lived nearby, would say he was an extremely devoted father, would never intentionally hurt or frighten his own kids. He loved them to bits. Yeah, this is when the lies, untruths kind of begin. We can only surmise exactly what happened, but it seems that Laura, for one reason or another, although we got a pretty good reason which we'll get to, wanted to start to turn her children against their dad. During the summer of 2014, Laura, it seems, had enough. She filed for divorce from Craig and moved in with Paul Tucci, who was a longtime family friend of the Rideouts and Craig's best friend. Nice! Yeah, Paul's wife had recently passed away, so he was moving on up. Him and Laura actually kind of started getting close together because she was a shoulder for him to cry on, and she wanted out of her own marriage. Though you might imagine this might piss
ended up
Craig
stabbing him
off
in the throat.
somewhat. His friends and colleagues would say, he was a good man. He kept his chin up. He was a very patient guy. Always looked on the bright side of life. Though inside, Jesus lads, he was devastated. He was awarded custody of his 2 youngest children, aged 6 and 12. The other children were old enough they could do what they want. The fact that he was awarded custody also could debunk what I just mentioned about his oldest son calling him abusive. Well, he's not around to tell his side of the story. Colin would side with his mother and move in with Paul and his mother. From 2014 onwards, though, when the divorce started filing, Laura and Craig's relationship continued to deteriorate quite a bit. She would just drop the kids off and just kind of run away. She would just show up whenever she wanted. Miss appointments, that kind of thing. And things would get even worse as we move closer to 2016.
It's just when everything goes to shit.
At the beginning of 2016 in January, text messages between Colin and Laura, Mam and Ola's son, show that they started to try and hatch a plan to get their 2 oldest daughters to frame Craig somehow. Colin and Laura wanted the 2 daughters to stage an incident that would show Craig was an abusive parent so that Laura could get custody. They hoped to provoke Craig into a display of anger so that they could call the police and, he's violent. Colin sent text messages to his sisters with detailed instructions. Tell them you're afraid your dad is going to kill your younger siblings when he gets home, he wrote. And later he texted, don't hesitate to call 911 if he's ever screaming because that would play well in court. The plan went to shit when this little ploy didn't work to get Craig angry, because it seems like he didn't really ever get angry because he was a nice guy.
Getting angry myself, though.
So, further into 2016, Laura and Paul Tucci, were planning on moving to North Carolina. And Laura wanted to take the 2 youngest children with her, the ones Craig had custody of. Craig was not having any of that.
He's got custody.
One night, during the summer of 2016, Craig was woken up in his townhouse by an intruder who plucked a hair from his arm and stole his house keys and BlackBerry, then fled. Craig reported this to 911 but had his suspicions that it was his own son, Colin, that had broken in.
My name's Craig Rideout. What happened? I wake up at midnight with a sharp pain in my arm. I jump up. This will sound crazy. A hooded black figure, not a black man, was running out of the room. The reason I have to file a police report is my BlackBerry, which was taken that night.
By July of that summer, Laura and Paul were all packing up, getting ready to jet on down to North Carolina. They'd already signed a lease on an apartment.
Okay.
And on the night of July 17th, Robin spoke to her brother Craig for the last time. During that conversation, they spoke about what Alex, the 3rd oldest son, had posted on Facebook. See, Alex had posted publicly on Facebook an email Colin had sent to Craig about a week before, and it went a little something like this. Let my mother, and especially the 2 youngest children, leave. Notice that every child who is old enough to choose has fled. You are a chronic liar, and I am sick of you dragging my mother through this contorted divorce while you abuse the court system to try and retain control over her life. Robin and Craig both found this to be, well, untrue. And Craig, he didn't respond publicly on Facebook, but he was like, you know what, I'm going to bring that up at the next custody hearing, because Laura is maybe turning my own children against me. But what was Laura telling her own kids what
that's
their
awful.
dad was like? What did they believe he...
Parents
what
should
kind of
do
person
that.
did they believe
Parents
he was?
should not do that.
After that call, Robin and Craig agreed to speak together the next day. And when Robin emailed him the next morning, she got no answer. Nothing on the ringer either. Robin had replaced his stolen BlackBerry with a prepaid phone. He wasn't picking that up. When she called his workplace, the financial services firm, they read her an email he sent his work the night before. My daughter remains ill. I may not be able to answer the phone as I will probably be taking her to the doctor's office. Robin, upon hearing this, was like, huh, that's weird. Maybe at lunchtime I'll pop by his townhouse, see if he's around, see what's up. And when she did, open the door, and she saw a figure in the kitchen. And she was like, oh, it's Craig. Oh, wait, no. It was Laura, cleaning the countertop. Now, Laura wasn't allowed in Craig's house because of custody rules and all that kind of shit. She also wasn't like a neat person. Her tidying up was kind of weird. What you doing here, Laura? Where's Craig, the husband you hate? Laura at this point apparently said to Robin, I knew it wouldn't be long before someone came looking for him. I don't know where he is. Laura said she was there because the kids Craig had custody of woke up alone in the house. Laura then left, and there was no sign of Craig's car. Robin then snooped around the house, and when she found 3 pairs of shoes, and he only owned 3 pairs of shoes, she called 911. Craig Rideout was reported missing.
My brother has not been answering texts or cell phone calls or emails, and I could be making a mountain out of a molehill.
That very same day, 50 miles south of Rochester, a farmer was biking to work early in the morning down a quiet country road. As he was pedaling away, he spotted 2 cars parked by the side of the road, with 2 figures nearby. 3 hours later, as he was biking back, the figures and the cars were gone, but a shovel remained. Heading over toward it and following a trail of trampled grass into the woods, he found a brown tarp and a bare foot visible underneath. Sheriff's deputies soon arrived. There's a foot there when they heard a ring coming from underneath the tarp. Pulled up, took out the phone. What was the caller ID saying? Robin.
Damn.
At that very same time, police arrived at Craig's townhouse, where Robin wanted them to force open Craig's locked bedroom door. However, they refused as they needed a warrant to even enter the house. Laura and Paul soon arrived there. Laura said she was tidying up, put things in the basement, but had no idea where Craig was. And when the police eventually did search the house and got a warrant, they opened the locked bedroom and found nothing inside. But when they searched the basement, they found blood splatter on the walls and shelving unit. And inside a bag, they found what appeared to be a garrote. The police were pretty quick to figure out whose body it was under the tarp. After all, they had a phone call, a phone Craig never mentioned to his soon-to-be ex-wife that he had replaced. Laura did not know anything about this phone, which was interesting when Robin told the police, hey, you know, just a few weeks ago someone stole Craig's phone. But only a few people know he had it replaced. So, the police had a crime scene and a body. But, how do you link those two together? The autopsy of Craig was grim. Drain cleaner had been poured all over his face and fingers to prevent identification, though he was successfully identified due to dental records. It appeared he had been beaten and garroted. Cell phone records pinged Craig's phone on early July 18th, from his home to where he was
probably his own
found,
fucking kids.
leaving his home at 3:15 a.m. CCTV from businesses along that route showed his vehicle and also Paul Tucci, Touchy Tucci's car, on their way to where he was dumped. The day after Craig Rideout, his body was found, the police got a call. Someone said 2 young men were throwing big black bags into a local pond called the Devil's Bathtub, which is a friggin' awesome name, by the way. When they arrived, the police met Colin and Alex.
So what's going on? You and your brother out for a walk?
Yeah, basically, we were just like out, and then suddenly people show up, and it's like, well, I've never really encountered police before, so it was like.
You've never been in trouble before, right?
No, I don't really do drugs or drink or really party. How old are you? I'm 19. I'm doing college next year.
If you tell me what's in that bag before I see what's in that bag, it'll be better for you.
You know, I don't know what's in the bag.
And found in the bags were empty bottles of drain cleaner, gloves, and bloody clothing. So the police asked Alex, what you dumping all this shit in the pond for?
Yeah, you
He
little
said to
bastard.
them, "My mammy told me to." Alex and Colin didn't know Craig's body had been found, so the police asked them what they thought could have happened to their dad, to which they responded, he must have left town, gotten sick of everything, sick of all his kids, and just fucked off.
He'd always threaten, oh, I could just disappear. Figured he was on the next flight to Mexico.
Have you heard anything from your dad? Well, I emailed him last night. I didn't hear. I heard from him Monday, and he picked up my brother and sister, I think, Tuesday. Like, I've been kind of worried about him for, like, stuff's just been freaking me out.
Alex and Colin were then arrested.
Pieces of
The
shit.
police then rocked up to Laura and Paul's house, and she too was arrested.
Piece
Inside
of
Laura
shit.
and Paul's home, they found Craig's car key, which, not good for them.
In connection with this homicide investigation, we're announcing the arrest of Alexander Rideout and Colin Rideout and Laura Rideout. The two brothers, Alexander and Colin, were arraigned in Mendentown Court and charged with tampering with evidence of felony.
6 weeks later, Paul Tucci, Touchy Tucci, was also arrested. 4 people arrested, and all 4 made bail. They were only charged with evidence tampering. The police were still trying to build a case against Laura, Colin, Alex, and Paul, and figure out what exactly happened to Craig.
Murder.
The police would later find CCTV of Laura, Colin, and one of their daughters shopping in a local Walmart. Buying what? A lot of drain cleaner. What else? Come on, that's what you usually buy when you go shopping, right? They need those pipes flowing, baby. The next day, just a few hours before the murder, Laura and Paul were spotted buying a large tarp, bungee cord, and more drain cleaner. Colin was also spotted at a different Walmart buying a shovel.
There's the gloves.
What the investigators think happened is this. Laura and Paul brought the 2 youngest kids back to Craig's. They were staying with Laura and Paul. And that night, one of them, possibly both of them, went to speak to Craig about the move to North Carolina. Then, possibly Laura lured Craig down to his basement, where he was beaten, possibly with a pipe, a hammer, something like that, before
Good
being
God.
garroted. The garroting, though, wasn't very good. It's, only supposed to, choke you. This cut his neck and sprayed blood just everywhere. So, this led to a lengthy cleanup. Laura wasn't supposed to be there when Robin arrived. When she arrived looking for Craig and she found Laura cleaning up. Laura was supposed to have been long gone by that stage. They didn't think it would be as bloody as it was. The police
The best
then,
laid plans,
thinking,
bruh.
remember Paul's wife, she died. And pretty soon after he got with Laura, they began to suspect if it was possible he poisoned her.
Hey, Brett, the late wife of Paul Tucci died in 2014. Her name was Jennifer Tucci. A source close to the Rideout murder investigation told me that a medical expert is taking another look at how she died. When Paul Tucci walked out of the sheriff's office Monday, he knew he was a suspect in the murder of Craig Rideout. What he did not know is that an investigator is looking into how his wife died 2.5 years ago. This is a picture of Jennifer Tucci. She is buried in St. Mary's Cemetery in Parrington. It's a modest grave site, protected by a wreath and a little Christmas tree. The source says an autopsy in 2014 determined Jennifer Tucci died from complications from alcohol. But after Paul Tucci was arrested in September for tampering with evidence in the Craig Rideout murder, our source says a medical expert was directed to start the process of re-examining tissue left over from Jennifer Tucci's autopsy.
She died of liver disease, and is it possible he made it look like liver disease? They wanted to exhume her body, but the medical examiner was satisfied it was natural causes.
But was it?
The trial of Laura, Colin,
You'll
Alex,
never
and
know.
Paul then began in the summer of 2017. All 4 were tried together. All pled not guilty. The prosecution had the CCTV footage, clothing found in the bags at the Devil's Bathtub, which matched all 4 of them via DNA, and all 4 were charged with second-degree murder. The motive, the prosecution said, was simply custody, so Laura and the family could start anew in North Carolina. The defense, however, argued they didn't really have much
That's
of a
so
motive,
fucked up.
and that, all that stuff on the CCTV that they bought in Walmart, need all that stuff for moving. Come on. Who doesn't need, when you're moving house, a tarp, a shovel, bungee cord, like
I have needed all that stuff.
shitload of bottles of drain cleaner? You need all that stuff. Come on. What? If you think you need all that stuff for something more sinister? What's wrong with you? You're crazy. Each member of the accused had their own lawyer, which all attempted to shift blame onto another person. Colin blamed Laura, Laura blamed Colin. I'm innocent, 'twas me ma, 'twas me son.
I've heard some awful things about Craig Rideout here today in court, and I've heard them during the course of the trial. I've also read any number of letters and heard from Robin Drew on a number of occasions now. And depending upon which side of the aisle you're sitting up there, Craig Rideout was either one of the greatest human beings God ever put on this earth, or awful. My life experience tells me that neither one of those is possible. Some of the letters I read on his behalf from people who have known him for a very long time speak very highly. It was evil. It was diabolical. Alexander Rideout was in the basement, and he was at Double Pond, right at Devil's Ponds. Colin Rideout was in the basement and was in Double Ponds. And was there at the time Craig Rideout died, based upon the blood spatter expert who testified here at the trial. And that same group put Laura Rideout in the basement at the time Craig Rideout was killed. This is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
You tell him.
On July 25th, 2017, Laura and Colin Rideout were convicted of second-degree murder, and Alex Rideout of tampering with evidence. Paul Tucci, the Tooch, he was acquitted for one reason or another. Alex was sentenced to 2 to 8 years, and Laura and Colin received the maximum sentence of 25 years to life. Despite Paul being acquitted, the detectives definitely believe he had something to do with what happened to Craig.
I think that the jury had to consider, what we put on as evidence, and I think that they did that, but I do think it was incorrect, and particularly with regards to Paul Tucci.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Because he's a piece of shit.
Because I believe Paul Tucci,
he deserves to be in prison.
Had a major part in this crime.
Getting his
ass
ass clapped.
Paul Tucci, without any of the four of them, I think that this crime has far less
make those
chance
cheeks
of being
clap.
successful.
So, a lot of people think that somebody of Paul Tucci's size would be capable of doing the murder, whether it's to hit him over the head or to strangle him, and also to carry the body out of that house and drop it off in Yates County. What do you think?
Very particularly, Laura Rideout is about 106 pounds. Colin, not a very big guy either. And it's going to take more than one person, regardless of the size of Colin and Alex, to take that body out.
Yeah.
Also, the force needed to crack someone's skull is pretty, that's a good amount of force. So, yeah, I would think that you could reasonably, draw the conclusion that Paul Tucci had some involvement there. Well, as we went through the evidence and you look at what was presented, some of the things that were presented were the video of Laura Rideout and Paul Tucci at the Hudson Ave Walmart just hours prior to the occurrences. And what they're buying there is tarps and acid and bungee cords. The body's ultimately found wrapped in a tarp, that same tarp, with bungee cords, those same bungee cords, and the victim was disfigured with acid, that same acid.
So do you think Paul Tucci killed Craig Rideout?
I do.
Did you kill Craig Rideout, or were you involved with the murder?
No. I've never, ever stepped foot inside of 135 New Wickham in any of it. We were dropping kids off, picking up kids. I've never even been inside the guy's condo.
Where were you the day that he died? Where were you?
I was at home.
Okay. Do you know who killed Craig Rideout?
I don't. I don't think anyone does.
Did Laura?
No. Laura was with me at home. She was with all of us. I mean, at the campfire. She was upstairs.
What about Colin?
Colin was seeing the same thing. He was in the campfire. He was in and out.
There's an investigator. His name is David Bolton. He's convinced that you were in the basement that day and that you were involved with the murder and that you used an iron to strike Craig Rideout. Did you do that?
No, I've never been inside 135, the Wickham.
Why would he say that you were? Why would he say that you did?
Maybe David Bolton believes in Santa Claus. I don't know.
This is evidence that obviously the jury did not get to hear. And he also said he believes that you, and again, the jury did not get to hear this, that you helped to carry Craig Rideout's body out of that basement because Laura and Colin could not have done that on their own. Did you?
No. I think that's interesting because I've seen all the evidence, and that's a big question that's in there. What evidence? They don't even know he was killed in his basement 100%. But if he was, how did they get him out of there? I don't know, Mythbusters ran a nice episode showing a one person could do it. So he has his theories, but those are theories, speculations with no basis in fact. Because if they had the fact, we would have heard about it.
Why were you buying a tarp of bungee cords and drain cleaner?
I think that's pretty much been established. We were moving. Look, we had a whole list of things that needed to be purchased over the last couple of days. What do you do when you get a house ready for sale? You have to clean it. You have to, I have some drawers that need repaired. You have to paint. You have things that need to be affixed to the walls. It's interesting, people talking about how to move a piano. I wasn't using the tarp to move the piano. I'm using the tarp to protect the living room floor to paint the ceiling, and it's going to go on the wood pile down in North Carolina. The bungee cords are for the foosball table. They're for the arcade game and all of that, and I put those in there. I have teenage girls with long blonde hair and long brown hair that clog up every bathtub and bathroom sink. One jug of
Strange
he got some
case
excuses,
filled
don't he,
with
Britt?
serendipitous moments.
He guilty.
I mean, what if the farmer
Make
had
them
seen the
cheeks
shovel
clap.
there by the side of the road, because it was like 50 feet past that into the forest that Craig's body was. What if whatever witness reported seeing Colin and Alex throw shit into the devil's bathtub, what if they didn't report that to the police? What if Colin and Alex weren't idiots and did that at night when no one would see them do it?
Yeah, it was just a bunch
Alex
of
and
luckiness.
Colin told the police during the investigation that they believed their dad had ran away, which seems unbelievable. But, like I said, serendipitous moments, maybe the police might have believed them if they hadn't done everything wrong. Poor Craig, who his entire family turned against him and murdered him for, custody? Was there something more that we just don't know? Well, there you have
like
it.
a
That's
life
the
insurance?
Thank you so much for watching. I really
I don't know, people do
appreciate
some
it. I will see
stupid
you as
shit,
al-
bro. I don't ever try to begin to understand what's going on in half these people's brains and minds and their thought process on shit, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you. People don't think. People get a wild hair up their ass, they jump on an emotion, they ride until they run face first into a wall. Like, I don't care how you look at it, it should not have got to that point. Those kids should never been put in a position where they felt like they had to kill their father because their mother was basically sitting there brainwashing them into hating him. That's fucked up. Just live life, move on. Shit. Really enjoyed today's video. Learning experiences, learning moments. We can all learn from this. Right? That's why we do it. Alright, really enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video as much as I did. And if you did, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. While you're down there, if you want to go on over, slap that subscribe button, become part of the B5 Nation. We do some crazy stuff here. If you want to know when that crazy stuff happens, ding that bell and turn on all notifications. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. This was such a good suggestion. Thank you so much. I actually really did enjoy it.